Hi everybody, just yesterday I posted a lyric video. It's a beautiful lyric of this beautiful song called Butterfly. And today I'm going to give you a Korean lesson based on that lyric, but not every part of it. I try to film a lesson where I break down every single part of the lyric, but it turns out that that's not gonna work. That's just too much. So in this lesson, I focused mostly on adjective, adverb, and verb, and plus some new vocabulary that you can take away. So let's begin our lesson. So we're starting off with an adjective. Oh, let me zoom in first so that you can see it clearly. Okay, so we're starting off with an adjective, and 어리석은 means foolish. And this is the adjective. And just like every verb has their own base form that ends with 다, remember, as I told you in the previous introduction to grammar lesson, if you haven't taken that lesson yet, you might as well go check it out first and then come back to this lesson, because that way it'll be a lot easier to follow this lesson. Anyways, just like all verbs have base form, and base forms are always conjugated when put into a sentence, each adjective also has its own base form too, and they also end with 다. So 어리석은, this adjective, comes from its base form, which is 어리석다. So this is the base form of 어리석은, but how did it change from here to here? So just like in English, adjectives are generally used in these two ways. So the first adjective is complementary of the subject, right? And the second adjective directly modifies the noun that comes after it. And that's the same in Korean, except that in each case, the adjective's form differs. So 똑똑하다 means smart. So it's the base adjective, and when it's complementary of the sentence, it can be used in its base form. But when the adjective becomes a modifier of the following noun, it cannot be used in a base form and has to change its form by adding 니은 받침, or depending on the last word, you can also add 은 or 든. But in the case of 똑똑하다, this word does not have 받침. The last word does not have 받침, so you have to add 니은 받침, and that's how you make it as a modifying adjective. 똑똑한. So that's how I am smart became 나는 똑똑하다, and a smart person, a smart as a modifying adjective, becomes 똑똑한 사람. So same with this one. The last letter of the adjective has 받침. So in this case, you simply put 은 to make it a modifying adjective. So that's how it became from 어리석다 to 어리석은. And 세상 means world. So it means a foolish world. And 은, if you remember from my previous lesson, is a subject marker. So you can know that the foolish world is the subject of the sentence. 어리석은 세상은 너를 몰라. So you can find an object here too, right? Because this one is an object marker, right? So the foolish world, you, and this is a verb, and that means don't know. And this is a conjugated present form of the base verb, which is 모르다. So 모르다 became 몰라 to mean the present. And moving on to the next sentence, we'll skip this part because this is a bit of an advanced particle. So this is more for advanced learners. So you can just ignore it here. But this sentence alone is also a complete sentence. 너를 못 봐. It means can't see you. So it means can't see you. So 를 is the object marker, so you is an object. But then where is the subject? So the subject here is removed because in the previous sentence, the subject was 어리석은 세상, the foolish world. And 어리석은 세상 doesn't know you. And it's clear from the context that the subject of this sentence is also the foolish world. The foolish world doesn't know you, and the foolish world can't see you. It has the same subject. So that's why the subject in the second sentence is removed. In English, when the subject is obvious, you replace it with pronouns such as it. Like in this case, when the subject is repetitive, you can say the foolish world doesn't know you, and you can replace the foolish world with it, right? It can't see you. So when the subject is obvious, you replace it with some pronouns like it, or they, or he, or she, depending on what the subject was. But in Korean, we do use pronouns, but not as much as in English. And usually when the subject is obvious, it's removable. And the same applies to the object. And that doesn't mean that subjects and objects are always removable every time they're obvious. But the most common example of subject and object removal would be the word 사랑해, which means I love you. So you already know by now from our previous lesson that 사랑하다 is the base verb of to love, right? And when you say I love you, it becomes 나는 the subject, 너를 object, 사랑해. However, this is a 100% grammatically complete sentence, and we usually don't say this full sentence when we say I love you. We normally just say 사랑해. So we remove all the subject and the object, because when you tell someone that's in front of you, I love you, there's no other people involved, and it's obvious that it's I who love the other person, and it's you that I love, right? So without saying I and you, we just say 사랑해 to mean I love you. So this sentence is also one example where the subject is removed, but the object still remains, because the object isn't obvious unless you indicate it. And 못 봐 means can't see. So here's where we learn how to negate the verb. So first, the verb 봐 comes from the base verb 보다, which means to see, and 봐 or 보아. So 봐 is the abbreviated form of 보아, so both are grammatically acceptable. And when you add 못 in front of the verb, it adds the meaning of can't. And other than 못, another way to negate a verb is by putting 안, which means don't. So 못 means you don't do something due to the lack of your ability, due to certain circumstances, and etc. Whereas 안 means you don't do something out of your own will. So for example, 나 영화 안 봐 means I won't watch the movie, whether because I don't want to or I don't feel like it. And 나 영화 못 봐 means I can't watch the movie, whether because your circumstances don't allow, or you don't have time, or you lack the ability to concentrate or enjoy the movie, and so on. So we just covered two lines. The foolish world, 어리석은 세상은 너를 몰라. The foolish world doesn't know you, and 너를 못 봐. The foolish world can't see you. And moving on to the next sentence, we're only going to look at the verbs here. So 알아 is the verb that we learned in the previous lesson. Do you remember how to say Jeff knows me? Jeff knows me. 제프는 나를 알아. So 알아 is the present form of 알다, right? We don't need more explanation. And 보여 here is a new verb. And this verb comes from this base verb, 보이다. So 보이다 and the verb that we just learned, 보다, they look similar, but they have a different meaning. So 보다 means to see, and 보이다 means to be seen. So it's a verb that has a passive meaning. And we're also going to look at this particle, 의, This is a possessive postposition. So this is used when indicating something's possession. So 너 means you, right? And it's used to indicate that the noun that follows is the preceding noun's possessive. So this word means use wing, which is your wing. Then how about this one? We just learned all the words. So 나 is me, right? And is someone's possession. And 세상, do you remember what it meant? World, right? So it means world. So it means my world. So I hope you got the hang of how to use this particle now. And let's look at the next sentence. 겁내지 마. 할 수 있어. Alright, so here we learn two different ways to conjugate verbs to mean two different things. First one is how to say don't do something. So 마 here is the present form of the verb 말다, which means to stop doing something or refrain from doing something. So by saying the stem verb 지마, you mean don't do it. Don't do that verb. So like here, 겁내지 마. 겁내지 마. So 지마, and the stem verb is 겁내. So 겁내. So this stem verb comes from 겁내다, which means to be scared or to be afraid. And by mixing the stem verb with 지마, 겁내지 마, it becomes don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. So let's practice a bit more with other verbs. 하다 means do. 먹다 means eat. And when you want to say don't do or don't eat, how should you say it? So you can put the stem verb 하 and then put 지마. 하지마. It means don't do it. And how about don't eat? Stem verb is 먹, right? So it becomes 먹지 마. Don't do it, don't eat. And the next one is 할 수 있어. And this means you can do it. And here you might also be wondering, where is the subject? Like, cannot see any word that resembles you. But like I told you here, the subject is also removed because it's obvious that the speaker means you can do it because she's singing to you. So that's why the subject is removed here. And when you want to say you can verb, here's how you conjugate the verb. So when you want to say you can do like verb, here's the formula. So we know that do is 하다 and its stem verb is 하. So the stem verb goes first and then we decide whether 리을 받침 or 을 comes by looking at whether there is 받침 or no 받침 in the last letter of the stem verb and it doesn't have 받침. So you can add 리을 받침 here and put 수 있다. So that's how can do it becomes 할 수 있어. 할 수 있다. 할 수 있어. And let's practice with two more verbs. How do you say can eat and can love? Eat is 먹다. And the base form of love is 사랑하다. And you have to put the stem verb first, right? And decide whether 리을 받침 comes or 을 comes. But this one has 받침, so 을 can be placed. And 수 있다. You add 수 있다. So 먹을 수 있다 means can eat. How about how about can love? So 사랑하 is the stem verb, and this one ends with the letter that has no 받침. So in this case, you put 리을 받침 only, and then put the rest of the ending, So 먹을 수 있다, can eat. 사랑할 수 있다, can love. Let's do one more. How about can know? So know is, so the base verb of know is 알다, right? So you first put the stem verb 알, and you can see that this one has 받침, so you might go with 을, because we just learned that when there's 받침, you put 을. However, when the 받침 is 리을, you don't have to put anything, and you can just continue with the rest of the verb ending. So just 알 수 있다 means can know. 먹을 수 있다, 사랑할 수 있다, 알 수 있다. Wow, so we only did 4 sentences and it took so much time. And moving on to the next sentence, our first adverb. So 뜨겁게. So 뜨겁다 is an adjective that means hot. Like the heat is hot or your passion is hot, that kind of hot. Not like a girl or a guy being kind of hot. You know what I mean, right? And to make an adjective into an adverb, we usually put 게 after the stem adjective. So if 뜨겁다 is hot, 뜨겁게 means hotly or in a hot way. But this way the literal translation sounds weird. So a more correct meaning in this context would be passionately. Because we use 뜨겁다 to mean your passion is hot. So that's how you make an adverb. And there's also another adverb on this page, which is, as you can see here. And the adjective 거칠다 means like something is rough, like harsh or violent. And again, by putting 게 here, it's made into an adverb, roughly or harshly. And there's one more adverb that appears in this lyric. Where is it? Oh, okay, so it's here, 차갑게. And this comes from the adjective 차갑다, which means cold. So 차갑게 means, coldly or in a cold way. So I think you can understand this sentence. So 나, right? I. Jeff is the objective. And what was 차갑게? Do you remember? Coldly, right? And 보았다 is the past tense of 보다. 보다 means see, right? So this means saw or also looked. But in this context, looked at would be a more correct translation. So this means I coldly looked at Jeff. So just like in English, adjectives are placed right before the verb, if that adjective modifies the verb. So these two are the adjectives that we just learned, and this is something that we haven't covered yet, but this means beautiful. Can you find one common trait in these 3 adjectives? It's that each stem has 비읍 받침 in the last letter, right? And there's a reason why I mention it. So if you look at this part of the lyric, so 벅차도록 means overwhelmingly, but this is a vocabulary for advanced learners, so we can skip this part. And 아름다운 그대여. So 그대 means you, but in a more poetic form. So we don't use 그대 in a daily conversation, but this is the lyric. So she used 그대. And 아름다움 means beautiful, and its stem adjective is 아름답다 here. And when it becomes a modifying adjective, it changes its form from 아름답다 to 아름다운. And here you might have noticed that it's a bit different from how the previous adjectives that we learned changes its form. Like 어리석다 became 어리석은, and 똑똑하다 became 똑똑한. So I told you that depending on the last letter, you decide whether to put 은 or whether to put 니은 받침, right? So this one has no vowel, so 니은 받침 is added, and this one has no 받침, so 니은 받침 is added, and this one has 받침, so 은 is added. However, when it comes to 아름답다, this adjective, it seems that it's not following the above rule. So according to this rule, 아름답다 should be 아름답은, but how come it's 아름다운? And it's because of the 비읍 받침. So when the stem of the adjective ends with 비읍 받침, when you conjugate it to a modifying adjective, you remove 비읍 and then put 운. So when 뜨겁다 becomes a modifying adjective, it becomes 뜨거, right? Because 비읍 is removed. 뜨거운. 차가운. 아름다운. So beautiful. So 아름다운 너. Beautiful you. 너는 아름답다. You are beautiful. 차가운 커피. Cold coffee. 커피는 차갑다. Coffee is cold. 뜨거운 태양. Hot sun. 태양은 뜨겁다. The sun is hot. So I hope now you got the hang of how to use adjective in Korean. Okay, so for the remaining part of this lesson, we'll look at 2 more verbs and 1 more postposition, the particle. So 나라 here means fly, and it comes from the stem verb 날다. And our last verb is a verb that has a beautiful meaning, and it's this one, 믿어. And this comes from 믿다, which means believe. It can also mean believe in or trust. So any kinds of trust or belief sort of meaning, it contains all of them. And in this sentence as well, 너 is an objective. So here the subject is also removed because it's obvious in this context that it's I who believe in you. Okay, and the last particle, the postposition we're going to learn is this one, 처럼. So when a noun is followed by 처럼, it means like, and it means like that noun. So 꽃 here means a flower. So it means like a flower. And 나무 means a tree, and it means like a tree. Okay, so if you remember everything we learned in this lesson, then you can know the meaning of this sentence. I'll give you 5 seconds to figure it out yourself. You, subject marker, right? Flower, like, 아름답다, beautiful. So this means you are beautiful like a flower. Okay, so our very last vocabulary would be 심장 and 소리, because I want to see if you remember this postposition, this particle. Do you remember what it meant? So it's a possessive particle, which indicates the possession of the noun. So 심장 means heart, and 소리 means sound. So 심장의 소리 means the heart's sound, right? The sound of the heart. 꽃의 향기 means flower, and this is possessive, right? Flowers. 향기 means scent. And 너희 엄마 means you, mother. So it means your mother. So it means your mother. Okay, so that was it for this lesson. It took a very long time to film this lesson. I'm not sure how long this lesson will be after I edit this, but thank you so much for following me. And I personally believe that studying a language with written sentences like this by breaking them down is very helpful. Although it's impossible to understand every single thing in the sentence if you are a beginner or at a low intermediate level, you can take away what you are able to understand, right? And you can also see how the sentence structure generally works. So maybe I'll do this kind of lesson every once in a while so that you don't get bored with the regular and sort of easy lessons that I put out there. I hope you feel like you really learned something out of this lesson. And don't forget to review everything you learned here, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.